Hi, it's me again. Okay, so thought today's gonna be a chill day, but looks like I really want to speak. And so last night I typed out something on Greek mythology, Hinduism, and Jungian psychology, making comparisons or say cross-referencing between these three field of studies, I would say. And I drew out some comparisons between them. And I would love to share it here in this video with all of you. Hope you enjoy it as much as I do and as much as I will. Because I don't know what I'm going to talk about, except I do have the notes here, but it's actually quite short. So I'm actually gonna just read it off the iPad and film it here. Okay. Now, the title of the video is I decode human relationships with Greek mythology, Hinduism, and Jungian psychology. Okay, so let me first go over what these three area of studies is about: Greek mythology, Hinduism, and Jungian psychology. For Greek mythology, how do I perceive Greek mythology as relating to human relationships? Greek mythology is actually composed of, all the gods and goddesses. They are actually representing the archetypes of humans. It is kind of like, coffee blends. Sometimes certain coffee blends, they have a more fruity flavor. Some of them are more nutty, right? Nuttier. It depends on the quality of the coffee bean, as well as how much of each coffee beans being selected are being mixed together and roasted, right? So it is some sort of like that. What does it mean? It's like, say, if it's the archetype of Athena. Okay, Athena. So Athena is a certain blend of coffee beans, whereas for Hera, the wife of Zeus, she would be another blend of coffee beans. So it's the different flavors of it. If we put it in the perspective of humans, archetypes, what it would become is the personality. It would be, in one way we can perceive it as personality. In another way would be the different integration that a female, or say feminine energy, would have to integrate within oneself in order to evolve. So all in all, the archetypes presented in the Greek mythology is actually not talking about just the gods playing with each other, or how they mess with each other, or how dramatic they are. They are actually representing human interactions throughout in the entire human history. Like wherever there are humans, these are how events could pop up due to certain interaction between different archetypes. Because in each of us, we actually embody different archetypes. And throughout our lives, we can evolve from, or say transform from one certain archetype to another. Or even, it doesn't have to be evolve, it could be just transform, meaning a person could start off as someone like Zeus, but then as he grows up, as in the masculinity wise, okay, as in talk about a man, but it can also be a woman, but then it would be more talking about the animus that would then we would then pull in Jungian psychology, which is the animus in woman. That would be the masculinity in female. So say if it's a man that starts off as Zeus, which would be the creator archetype, because we all are in fact creators. But I would get into that later as we go on. However, now I just want to briefly talk about how Greek mythology can be linked into our understanding, because Greek mythology is literally the portrayal of how humans interact with each other, and due to the different blends of each person, as in different archetypes even at the same time, such as how Zeus could start off, a person can start off as Zeus, but then as he grows up, he could become Ares, which would be the son of Zeus and Hera. Ares is the god of war, and we're going to talk about it very soon later in the video, about Ares and Zeus and Hera. Alright, so I guess this video would be quite information packed, but in a way that I find it actually very interesting, like as in talking about all of this. So I hope you enjoy it. It is gonna be a little bit information packed, but it's gonna be interesting. All right, so that's the part for Greek mythology, right? Now, Hinduism. Hinduism is actually very similar to Greek mythology, because in Hinduism they have a lot of stories talking about how the deities, or the gods basically, interact with each other. And in all of these stories, that would be in the, some of them, what is that called? Mahabharata, I think. Yes, is the entire. How should I call that? Like, I would actually call it literature. It is ancient literature in a way that describes how the gods interact with each other and involve a lot of events, including wars and love stories, and also a lot of ancient wisdom within. And Hinduism, if we compare Hinduism with Greek mythology, it's very interesting to see that both of them are actually talking about the same thing when it comes to the three major forces. And that is actually the same as Christianity, which is God, 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 who that would be the creator, which is generate, right? G for generate, God, creator. O for operate. That would be the preserver. So that would actually be, if in Greek mythology, would be the Poseidon. And for in Hinduism, that would be Vishnu. And for destroyer, D for destroyer, that would be Shiva in Hinduism, and in Greek mythology, that would be Hades. However, actually, in Jungian psychology, that would be the unconscious for Hades and Shiva, the destroyer. D in the word God. And for subconscious, it's actually Vishnu, the preserver, and also Poseidon in Greek mythology. For conscious mind, which is from Jungian psychology, right? That would actually be in Greek mythology, Zeus, the creator, which is when we are in the conscious mind, we are the creator, okay? And in Hinduism, that would be Brahma. So all they are talking about are referring to the same thing, but from different perspectives. And it is from these kind of weaving in together, we can learn a lot from them, from their, from comparing the messages that they deliver, as well as the stories that they tell. And from there, we can learn much more about human relationships and how the world, how the world becomes the way it is now. Okay, all right. So this part is done, which is about Greek mythology, Hinduism, and Jungian psychology. Like briefly talking about how we tie all these three together, right? Now the next part, which you can find in the timestamp. Next part would be, I'm going to go a little bit deeper into what I just said, which is Brahma, Zeus, Vishnu, Poseidon, Shiva, Hades, right? So these are actually the same thing. What they're talking about. These are the three forces. We can actually also tie into physics, or say metaphysics. It's very interesting, just like the tree of life, that it is talking about much more than it seems. It is actually not just talking about different dimensions or different representation of realms. It is much more than that. And in fact, the reason that why we can learn so much from just one simple diagram, say the tree of life, is because this is the entire structure of how they build the universe. And so if this is something like a blueprint, then of course everything is originated from such a blueprint, and that is why it can be used to explain almost everything. Maybe I shouldn't even add the word almost. But anyways, so when it comes to the three forces, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, so that would be for Hinduism, right? And then when it comes to Greek mythology, would be Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades. And for Christianity, maybe I should add in the title Christianity, but no, I think let's stick to these three. For Christianity, that would be God, God, right? Generate, operate, and destroy. And if we put into like a more common understanding way, that would be creator, preserver, or say operator for maintain, and destroyer. That would be then for regeneration. When anything is destroyed, that would be regenerated. So sustainability. That would be the cycle of life. The circle of life. Come on. We're even adding in Lion King. The circle of life. Okay. Now, if we add in, we're now just talking about the three forces, right? The three major forces that basically form the universe, form the force of the universe, which is evolution, right? That is actually basically the entire thing in itself means evolution. God, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, Zeus, Poseidon, Hades, creator, preserver, destroyer, they are all talking about evolution. They are just basically talking about evolution. So now, if we keep going on it, adding in Jungian psychology now. Jungian psychology talks about the conscious mind, subconscious mind, and unconscious mind. Conscious, subconscious, and unconscious. They would also talk about superconscious. So when it comes to superconscious mind, basically is connected to the origin. That would be the superconscious mind. But before we can access or say linked, connected to the superconscious mind, we have to first form the Trinity, which would be the balance between the conscious, subconscious, and the unconscious minds. Only then, if we have reached quite such a trinity within oneself, that would actually mean a good balance within oneself. When it comes to emotions, when it comes to understanding oneself, or we can pull in the what is it, Delphi, back in ancient Greece, that the entire mantra, so to speak, is know thyself. Know thyself. That is about how we achieve, or say reach, or form the trinity within oneself. And so if we put it in a more psychological perspective of just, we're still in these three forces, okay? The conscious mind is us. We are the creator, okay? We create things. When we are in this conscious state, we are actually, which is, the conscious mind is basically ego. So, but the ego is not something bad, because a lot of the videos that I come across, they usually talk about how they would kind of like demonize the ego, right? But to me, I don't see the ego as anything bad. It's simply a part of the psyche that is the conscious mind. But the conscious mind is actually not something bad. The conscious mind only seems to be bad only when the subconscious mind and the unconscious mind are unhealed, or say traumatized. Okay, so that would be called the dark rooms. Okay, and if we are not conscious with the subconscious and unconscious minds, then oftentimes our actions would be driven by our traumas. So that's why the ego has gotten such a bad reputation because of the actions being very mindless. And these actions, these mindless actions, are actually stemming from unconscious and subconscious minds that hold a lot of unhealed traumas. Okay, so that being said, let's keep going, because we are the creator. Each of us is the creator, as we are conscious. Okay, we are in our ego, which is the conscious mind that you see me now, right? Talking. I'm creating something when I'm speaking. And when you're watching this video, you are also creating. We are creating an interaction between us, even though it is not in face-to-face conversation, but we are actually creating an experience together. Okay, so this is the conscious. When it comes to the subconscious mind, it is actually the preserver. Why? If I talk like preserver, then people might wonder, preserve what? Like operate what? If we put it into a more computer-based, like computing system, how I see it is that the subconscious mind is actually the planner, or say the processor in computing system. In a computer, the processor is the unit that operates, right? It's the unit that helps organizing things, helps planning things out, helps scheduling. And it is the major function of this part, say if it's in a computing system, is to organize the data, right? It's to organize data and codings, and to help it to move smoothly. Or even to say, it's kind of like organizing different folders into different categories, so that when I retrieve certain data, it is already being labeled, organized, and so the efficiency is there. So that would be the preserver and subconscious mind, or the subconscious mind, or the processor, or the planner. So what happens when our subconscious mind is not very conscious? Or say, what happens when our ego, in our ego mind, okay, or say the conscious mind, when we are not in tune with our subconscious mind, what would happen is that we are not in synchronization with the planner. So if our subconscious, now here's the thing, there are two sides of this, that we can look at the same thing with from two perspectives. The first perspective is that if our subconscious mind is full of it's very unorganized, is very messy, which is very messy. The folders name, the files are not properly arranged. They are not classified into categories, folders, or say labeled with different like say field of studies. Like imagine if you go into a library and you can't really find what you want, like the kind of books that you're looking for, is because it is not well organized. Does it make sense? Or even you go into the supermarket, everything is so messy. Like suddenly the area of snacks is over here, but then just next to it, you have like raw meat, like right on the shelf, but then it's not even in the fridge. It's the kind of like a lot of mismatch there. So what does it mean? If something is very disorganized, very messy, because we're talking about the subconscious mind, it's the planner. If something is very messy, it's very hard for our conscious mind to process efficiently, right? This is the first perspective. If it's messy, it's not easy to retrieve data, just like the processor in a computing system, as efficient as it could be if it's very organized. This is the first perspective, which is organization, planning, the planner. The second perspective is that if our subconscious mind has a lot of unnecessary folders, unnecessary files, a lot of outdated files that actually need to be processed in a way, what does it mean to throw away? To throw away. If we have a lot of these that are not being sorted out, being stacked up, piled up over time, and we have not been taking time to sort them out, to throw whatever that is not necessary anymore, the old data, okay, that they are actually not useful for us anymore. These are actually traumas, or say unnecessary information that would just slow down our efficiency. So over time, it would be becoming more and more messy, and that would be for the first perspective, right? No, for the second one is the trauma. The reason that certain individuals, or say many of us, would not want to go into the planner to sort out this kind of folders or files is because it's usually quite traumatic, or say things that we want to avoid because it's not pleasant to look at. However, if we don't look at this in the subconscious mind, if we don't consciously look into the subconscious mind to sort these things out, these folders out, what would happen is that it would just be stuffed down into the unconscious mind. The unconscious mind is the storage room, or say the dark room, okay? But it doesn't have to be the dark room when we finally go into the room and clean it up, open the windows, open the shade, and let the sunlight in. Okay, it doesn't have to be a dark room. However, when it comes to this, the unconscious mind, this would be the destroyer. Why is it destroyer? Like that would be Shiva and Hades, okay? Shiva in Hinduism and Hades in Greek mythology. Why is it destroyer? It sounds scary, right? But it's actually not something like destructive, like causing violence. No, it is not talking about any of this. It is actually referring to how it's like throwing out unnecessary things, and how we can upcycle something in order to regenerate it back to the creator mode, right? We actually joining the destroyer into the creator mode. What does it mean? It is basically recycling. When we say, if we recycle plastic bottles, or say any kind of secondhand clothes, it is actually destroying. We are destroying them. It's actually the disintegration of materials into their more of the rawer forms, and so then we can regenerate them back with our creativity. That would be in our creative mode, the creator mode, Brahma and Zeus, conscious mind. So what does this mean? If we can actually regenerate something from a very from the unconscious mind, right? We look into the entire storage room and we clean things up, we sort them out, and so we become much more organized, and the room is clean. So this entire storage room is now kind of like having fresh air coming in. And so it would work so much more efficiently as relating to co-creating with the subconscious mind. That would be the planner. Okay, it's the organization that is all happening here. Now, what does the unconscious mind also mean here? The unconscious mind also represents trauma and expansion. Why? Because most of us, we actually store up a lot of things in the storage room, the unconscious mind. And a lot of the times, most people don't even know there is such a room that exists, or say the unconscious mind, because it's unconscious. Okay. However, when we have the courage, when we take up the courage, or when we look into things like this in the name of self-love and self-growth, we would then realize that when we walk into such a room, it is dirty in the first sight, at the first sight, but they are actually called traumas, yes. But once we transmute and heal from all these traumas, they are actually our potentials. They are the doors that lead us to expansion. So that is why Shiva is a destructive force, but it actually means kind of like burning karma, or say burning the traumas. It is through it's kind of like you transform into phoenix, you know, the fire bird phoenix, burning of oneself, the burning of one's own ignorance by looking into the wounds and traumas, and to learn the lessons from there. It is painful, that's why it's burning. That's why it's powerful at the same time. Fire. Fire is combustion. It is the entire, that's how the universe is formed, through Big Bang, you know, Big Bang, combustion. So this force is so potent that is in each of us. Or say we are actually a little particle of the entire universe. And so we hold the same DNA as the universe. And that's why we also have this potent energy in each of us that we can transform and transmute through evolution. Okay, so wow, it's already 30 minutes. Should I keep this as part 1? Maybe. And then I will talk about others in part 2 and 3. So you know what? I'm gonna keep this one 30 minutes as part 1, and I will keep on posting on this one as part 2, part 3, and part 4. So for the next parts, we'll talk about the balance between the divine masculine and feminine energies using Athena in Greek mythology and Sarasvati in Hinduism. And we will also talk about the story of how Brahma, who is actually the father of Sarasvati, he's like lusting over Sarasvati though. Okay, that's his own daughter, but it's actually not really talking about human relationship here. It's actually talking much more about the balance between the divine masculine and feminine energies in each of it is not, I would even say it's non-gendered. Okay, so we can't really interpret these ancient knowledge with our perception on using our perception on human relationships, because it's actually speaking much more than that. Okay, so like that's how I see it. I hope you enjoy this video as much as I do. It's actually quite fun. So yeah, I will see you in the next one for part 2 and maybe 3, 4. Right, bye bye. Thank you for your patience and your support. I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.